this recent study that we just did, we are partnered with the Tampa Innovation Alliance, the DOT, HART, and the Hillsborough Economic Development Department. So for the study, we tried to look at short-term and long-term mobility solutions, thinking about how to enhance this area, because it's really growing into a creative innovation district in that area, and we recognize that mobility is one of the things we need to do there, as along with looking at accessibility issues and the image of the area. So I've invited our project consultant here, Clarence King from Horn Associates. He's going to review the Circulator study. The full study, I gave you a kind of an infographic in your packet of a brief of the study. The full study is online, and as well as the 2013 study. So I'm going to turn it over to Clarence and follow up with questions when we're done.
Thanks, Allison. Again, my name is Clarence Ing with Kinley Horn. Sort of a quick summary of the project as Allison sort of described. I mean, one of the things that the Tampa Innovation District tried to do is really to kickstart an initiative in the university district area. So just to give you a little bit of geography, is that the overall innovation district area is between I-275, I-75, Fletcher, and essentially Bush, thank you. Just came back from vacation, so I'm a little slow. And so the innovation district, as we all know, in this area, there's a lot of both USF, Moffitt, Florida Hospital, Busch Gardens. So there's a lot of activity in the area. And so one of the challenges, one of the mandates of the Innovation Alliance is really to create this overall district. There are examples around the country, in Philadelphia, in St. Louis, all around the country. There are a lot of these innovation districts that are starting, including St. Petersburg. So the key of an innovation district is really to have a place where you could live, work, learn, shop, do all the things that you want to do in a district, and it's really that be able to tap into that creativity and innovation. I mean, as you all know, Moffitt is obviously a leading institution in terms of research, but there's a lot of other additional technology businesses in the district. So one of the challenges, similar to a downtown, is that you have all these people coming in and out, and so how do you maximize, how do you create that synergy that is really necessary? So this study is really was to look at, and it was a really brief study, but really look at all the different modes and really understand who are the customers and kind of how do we best serve them. So what we did in the beginning was obviously did an initial evaluation of the assets. And we did find, and again, I ran through some of the different partners there. There was also the VA Hospital, Children's Hospital, and a lot of other businesses, including the University Mall that's in the process of revitalizing, if you wish. And looked at all the different components and tried to understand, what are the strategies, what are the linkages, what's missing in the area, and how can we best improve upon them. We met with, over probably 15 different stakeholders, ranging from institutions to different partners, and really tried to understand what their needs are. It's interesting that within this large geographic area, that there are a lot of different services, including shuttles, but they're not necessarily integrated. So if you're on USF campus and you wanted to go to the mall, you may be challenged if you're not a student. So that's some of the things that we did find out. We also tried to understand where are people coming from and going to. As a large employment and activity center, we found out that around 80,000 people come and go throughout the day. Only about 6%, 5 or 6%, actually stay within the area. So that's part of our challenges of people coming through the day. There's about 50,000 that actually live outside the area and work in the area, and likewise, there's about 30,000 who live in the area but commute outside. So understanding those travel patterns are important. We also dug into, what are the movements within the district. There are, in the map on the left-hand side, shows the transit-dependent populations. So those are folks who are limited in their mobility. They'll be taking bus or other modes of transportation. Some of these other graphics also show some of the movements within the district. Again, USF being the campus being a major concentration. So as we started sifting through and understanding their mobility options, here's a quick graphic. I'm not sure going to walk through each one of them, but as you can tell, there are a lot of different options. There's bike share, there's car share, there's bus, a Metro Rapid, as well as a Hard Bus serves the area, as well as Bull Runner. But as you sort of sift through it, those who don't have a little bit more limitation in their mobility tend to be those who are not affiliated with the USF campus, because obviously they have a more extensive program, including the Bull Runner, their bike share, more of a car share on campus. But even if you were interning or if you're working at VA Hospital or Moffitt off campus, you wouldn't necessarily be able to use the Bull Runner. So those are the things that we found out, that there's a lot of different services, some duplication, some gaps in services. For those who are having treatment at Moffitt, with their families, they have if they're staying at a hotel, they may be able to use a shuttle to get around. But otherwise, again, they're sort of limited. And so we wanted to really, as part of our recommendations, identify a set of strategies that really pulls it all together, that really creates this unified overall district where, again, a series of strategies over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but how do we best maximize, create these synergies, and create this collaboration, and so that as the district's evolving, that we really have these stepping stones in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the recommendations, which really were, can each stand on their own, but combined, I think they really create a set of strong strategies that can be very useful over time. I'm going to walk through each one of them. So first, this district app. One of the biggest things, as someone who's either living there, working there, studying there, if you want to get around, the information is available, but in a lot of different sources. So if you were on campus, you wanted to go to Publix, or you wanted to go to Busch Gardens, or you wanted to go even outside the area, you'd have to go to all these different sources. So one of the things that, again, maybe as part of the brand of an innovation district, is to consolidate all that information in a web portal gateway. So, and there are, again, it would aggregate all the information, such as Hart's one bus away. The University of South Florida has a maps program that actually helps you navigate and does trip planning that integrates their bike share service as well as car share. So we can be able to pull all that together and be able to plan your trips. You'll also be able to get information about the different businesses, the different services within the area. And so that portal will really be, again, the front door, the gateway to all this information. There are examples outside the area, around the country and around the world, where you've actually integrated all that in an app where you can purchase your fare, or you can link on and select that bike that you're going to use within the area. So that's sort of the first recommendation. The second one is the district circulator. As I described earlier, Bull Runner is a great service. It serves the campus. It serves students and affiliates, as I'll call them, those who actually have passes or can recognize, to not only circulate within the campus, go to the University Area Transit Center, connect with an existing Hart Bus or Metro Rapid, go within a limited area. There are about 6 routes that really serve the students into connecting to the residential areas. But those who are outside the USF brand, if you wish, or don't have that service. So one of the things that we've recommended, and we've talked to the partners, and again, there's further conversations that are going to be required, is to expand that service to, like, I'll give you an example. Right now, on Moffett, the Moffett main campus on the USF campus area, they are providing shuttle service. Moffitt's providing a shuttle service to the McKinley campus where there's additional parking. Similar to what Tony's talking about, parking always tends to be an issue, you know, where people are really concentrated. So they're spending about $500,000 shuttling their employees to this off-campus site. Bull Runner actually operates on a 45-minute schedule to the residential area to the south. So you can see there's duplication. Again, no agreements have been made, but we'll be working through in this next phase of talking to see how we can expand the Bull Runner service and or potentially transition to a third-party operator that provides service in the overall district. There's obviously concerns of both, you know, funding, who's paying for what service, you know, sometimes safety, because, you know, you want to be able to control who's riding these shuttles. So that's something that is, again, the second recommendation is to provide an overall circulator service within the district. So that's sort of a theme that you're going to hear, because the third recommendation is, again, building upon the walkability and the bikeability. Currently, USF has their shareable bike service, which is similar to the Coast Bike Downtown. It's operated and owned by the rec department at USF, limited to students again, within the overall core district. Again, being able to serve beyond, you know, Bruce B. Downs and south of Fowler, be able to expand that service. So that's another component that we've recommended. I'll sort of foreshadow in that the Tampa Innovation Alliance was successful in getting a State of Florida Department of Economic Opportunity grant, and is actually currently starting to look at improvements of safety along the streetscape along Fowler, as well as other initiatives, including the Circulator. So, I mean, again, as we're starting to look at this overall district, trying to improve the overall walkability, bikeability, there are some gaps, you know, on campus at USF in terms of improving those services. So that's another recommendation. Here's just sort of an overall sort of set of graphics where these are the main roads. Obviously, if you're on campus and kind of within the district, you want to be able to have additional connections that you don't necessarily have to be on the major thoroughfares, and again, being able to provide a sort of secondary network, which really helps build the connectivity within the area. The fourth recommendation is to provide a connection to downtown. Again, there's a lot of folks who arrive, who are going to these institutions or these businesses, who arrive at the airport or connecting to downtown with the new medical campus in the downtown area. Again, thinking forward, we'll be able to want that stronger set of services. So being able to link the innovation district with all the activity downtown is an important strategy. And currently, HART operates a local bus from USF area through the UATC down to downtown on Nebraska, that runs through Nebraska. Overlaid on that, there's the Metro Rapid, as you know, which is more the rapid bus. This would be more of an overlay on top of that, would be more of an express service that would really cut the time down. The difference between local bus and Metro Rapid is about 15 minutes. We'll probably cut another 15, 20 minutes or perhaps more with that express service on top of that. We have coordinated and talked to HART. They are interested. Again, there's no funding dedicated right now, and additional efforts are going to be required to look at the viability and be able to plan this in the future. Other strategies within the area, again, as this area starts growing, bus rapid transit, there was been a previous study for east-west connector, autonomous vehicles. I mean, there's a lot of different, I can't sit here today and say that we have all the solutions, but this is, again, a suite of recommendations that really helps expand and provide the support for economic growth in the Innovation District in the USF area. I think, as I said earlier, in terms of getting something done, oftentimes we have these grand plans. With this project, we're really sort of looking at some short-term initiatives. And again, we were successful in getting the DEO grant that is really going to launch forward some of these initiatives. There are 6 projects that are being funded through the DEO grant. And this is the continuation of the study is one of them, primarily focusing on the first 3 actually components that I described. So I think that this is probably not the last time you'll hear about this project and these initiatives. This DEO grant has just started in July and will end in upcoming end of June of next year. So with that, I mean, that's really sort of a nutshell, the overall set of recommendations, and we'd be willing to answer any questions.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky enough to be familiar with affordable housing. I sit on the affordable housing board for the county, and I know that the university area, very low income, high crime rate, rents are low. What happens? And I spoke with Mark Sharp with the Innovation Alliance. Is that these new developments happen, great plan, but what it does is developers go in there. They basically scalp rent. We're talking maybe there's $650, people can actually afford it. They push it to $1,000, or that new apartment complexes. It's so high, it pushes these other low-income individuals out. What steps are they going to be taking? Maybe some of these routes are more towards these job centers. I mean, that grant, things like that. Is there a way to switch the focus a little bit? Because this is just a small pocket, but you're just going to create a larger problem where there's another pocket in the future. We're having to dive into that as a whole. So maybe if there something more for like the job centers, the job tech centers, the schools, I don't know, universities. I guess I would connect like HCC. I'm just maybe try to dive into that thought process a little more for lower.
Yeah, and I'll answer that in a couple different ways. One is that obviously a caveat is our study really focused on circulation and mobility. So I've done a lot of affordable housing, Hope 6 housing in the past in my career, and I'm definitely understand your concerns. And so a couple things are, one, bigger picture, as part of the DEO grant, there is also a component that includes, I'm going to say more outreach. It's being run by the university area CDC. So there's a component there that's really going to be moving forward in understanding that component. If I sort of focus back on the mobility component, and that's one of the things that I think is important to look at as an overall district. Because right now, your mobility options, if you're in those low-income areas, are pretty much you either will ride the local bus or Metro Rapid, but you really don't have as many other options to get through the overall area. So we're really sort of layering on top other opportunities of, if you need to go, you're working at Fowler and you're living in some of the areas that showed on the map, you either walk or you have your own bike. Maybe you can borrow the bike. So those are the things that start enabling the folks